Cut down on makeup time. It's really your acting that shows more than the way the hair is sitting. So really trust the directors. One of the actors loved our story and wanted to do the film. The next time we sat down, he had his own version of the story that he changed everything and
you presented.
Yeah, and made his character way above everybody, and we were like shocked, and then we didn't say a word, we just left and never looked back. DK and I and Sita Menon, three of us used to write together. Originally Tamil, Telugu, she's Malayalam. And we wrote most of the lines for the first two, three films, calling friends and asking each other, this is how it would sound. The redemption was sitting in those days when awards meant something. And you're sitting in this row and you're saying that, best Hindi dialogues, Raj, DK and Sita. And we're like, yeah, right. It took us 5 years to make our first feature in Hindi. The script was ready and it was like, I thought, next year we can start doing it or later this year. But who are you? And where did you work before? Do you speak the same language?
Hello everyone, I'm Rudrani and welcome to Speak Easy. My guests today are so special. This director duo made sure that they take Bollywood way beyond with their vision and with the way they looked at content. I'm of course talking about the very talented Raj and DK. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So can I call this 20 years of Raj and DK?
14 years.
Okay, we'll go back to 14 years of Raj and DK.
Yeah.
So we're back to 14 years of Raj and DK. Listen, 20 or 14. Both of you know that's a big deal in the industry where particularly people who don't have anybody here to look up to or to go and get guidance from to survive and to make it big is huge. So we're going to go right there. Starting with you, Raj, and then DK, you have to tell me about this journey and what you've learned from it in these 14 years. From the people who didn't know how it's going to go because you all weren't pitching things that were authentically Bollywood at the time, and the more no's that you heard and that didn't sort of perturb you. I want to go there.
Yeah, we were engineers earlier. Zero connection to the industry, zero knowledge on how to make a film. And all we had was each other to teach each other or learn together how to make a film. And the only way we knew how to do it was to do it what an engineer would do, is to reverse engineer a product. So you watch a film and you realize, how the hell did he make it? We take a camera and try to shoot a scene similar to that and it looks horrible. And I'm thinking, why is that so good? So we started going backwards to understand how a film was made, purely just a very organized approach as to what makes a film or a story good, what are the ingredients going into it. So as we started putting those lenses on and started watching films and understanding and analyzing them, realized a lot of things, so much so that when we wanted to become filmmakers later, we realized, why should I do what's out there? More because there are really good filmmakers out there. I'm never going to be as good as them. They're going to make films, those stamped, those signatures, they have it. So we realized if we are going to do a film in a crowded place, where we don't even know who they are, I'd rather stick to something unique that is coming from us authentically and just have our own signature to it. It might take a while, because you won't fall into the format, or you won't fall into the films that they're asking us to do, but somehow just stick to it. Just dig your heels in, work harder, because we'll have to work now doubly hard or triply hard than another film, because there is a film format that's working, but you don't want to do that. You want to do something else. So yeah, it takes. We pat our back sometimes. That it takes a little bit of guts and also risk. You put in your money, plus we are our own, we realize nobody's going to make a film for us because nobody knows us. So how do you make a film? You make your own. So we put our own money and said, let's become the writer, director, cinematographer, editor, producer, distributor, everything, and see how to make a film. So that's how we paved our own little brick by brick a path.
So just by virtue of being outsiders, I think, gave us an outsider's perspective
So
into the
important.
film industry. That's all I can say. As in, when you don't learn filmmaking from the proper channels, you end up making mistakes, and sometimes the mistakes turn out to be your strength. So you do something that nobody ever does in a film because maybe you don't know better. I think that's how it started out. And then when you start realizing that this is what is setting us apart and this is what we enjoy doing and this is what initially when we made a film it would be so different from a regular film, and yet our friends who would have watched it would have loved it, right? Of course nobody else would ever watch it because it doesn't have the legs to go far. But then when you hear that from your friends, they're not just being nice to you, they actually mean it, saying this is really fun, I wish there was this kind of stuff in mainstream cinema that's being made. So that kind of thing motivates you to go forward. And then somewhere before you realize you're making mainstream cinema that's your own kind of film. Yeah.
The nose must have hurt, right?
Sorry?
They obviously
Yeah.
hurt. The nose that you get hurt, right?
It took us 5 years to make our first feature in Hindi. The script was ready, and it was like, I thought, oh, next year we can start doing it, or later this year. But who are you? And where did you work before? Do you speak the same language? Everything is a question, and we used to even accept a lie, like these guys come from New York, and they'll be like, oh, you went to New York Film Institute, possibly.
Oh, you
And
went to
we'll
film
be
school.
like,
You went to film school in the
"Sure."
US. You're like,
You went along with it?
Sure.
Like,
Whatever gives us credibility at that
Yeah.
point.
But no, I understand. You have to hustle, right?
You have to
Hustlers.
hustle. And
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
IT guys, they know hustling.
because we
Whenever
don't
nobody
look
gives
like
you a job
filmmakers
unless you
do,
have a
right?
fake resume.
like
So-
when we were, like back in 2008 when we made 99.
Yeah.
So we are these guys from America, actually who grew up in the South, Telugu boys from America who don't know Hindi very well, wanting to make a Hindi film, and
They haven't worked
there is
on
no other industry connection. Like, oh, I assisted so and so filmmaker, I worked with him on that film, and now I have my script. Nothing like that. Nothing to support us. So yeah, you have to hustle.
You have to hustle and
Yeah.
have to find ways, innovative ways to get your work across to someone, that someone can see it in a glimpse and realize that they got something going on.
No, you just mentioned that. Do you think the fact that your first language was Telugu and not Hindi, that became a kind of a demarcation to be discriminated, saying that tum log kaise karoge Hindi, which is now if you look at it, you all have made some really cool stuff in Hindi.
Yeah, it definitely is a thing, right? I mean, everything about us would have been like, there is no precedence for it, right? Like either we are going to be some weird people from America making something that's not going to resonate with the Indian audience. We don't know Hindi, so you want to make something in Hindi.
We didn't know Hindi.
Everything about it was against us.
Now we do.
I like you corrected it. Did
Sorry?
you see that?
I said, now we do.
Now
Yeah.
you do.
The discrimination would be a strong word, but you could tell. You could tell from them that, how are you guys going to do it? How are you guys going to get the dialect or what we're saying? Things like that. You won't understand what I'm saying. Even when we're shooting our first film, sometimes somebody would say, or the first two films, somebody would say some line, which I said, I don't know, I'm not sure about that line. I said, you don't understand what I'm saying, and this is what I'm trying to say in Hindi. In Hindi, this is what it means. I said, no, I get it. The thing with us was, even in the very first film, we got Hindi very, very well. What we were trying to do was not make them speak in a manner that was already there. It looked regular
It shouldn't
cinema.
sound like a film dialogue. That's
So-
where we are differentiating, right?
So we are saying, don't do that, because that's making it sound like a typical line. So that's what our efforts were. So I tell this story to people that our first couple of films, right, or many films, DK and I and Sita Menon, three of us used to write together.
Correct.
And approximately, originally Tamil, Telugu, she's Malayalam.
I love that.
And we're writing it. And we wrote most of the lines for the first two, three films, most of the lines, calling friends and asking each other, this is how it would sound. We write everything in English, and then we say, like, how do you say it, how do you say it? We say it to each other. Grammar is off, but we get the point. You write it, call a friend and say, listen, it's not sounding right. Can you make this better? How would you? He'll say it like a film dialogue. I said, no. Talk like how would you talk to your friend? You write it down. So we constructed line by line most of these films. We did have a dialogue writer, of course, and all that later. But the redemption was sitting in those days when awards meant something, and you're sitting in this row and you're saying that, you know, best Hindi dialogues, Raj, DK and Sita, and we're like, yeah, right.
And they're like,
So
this
there
happened.
you go. Well, yeah, there you go. So no, it brought some freshness because we were trying not to do the what was
Regular.
there.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, if you're not already part of the system, I think you just don't know better than being different. So even when it came to the lines, like again, like if we had been working for 10 years in the industry and writing for Hindi films, we might have written dialogues a certain way or thought of dialogues a certain way. But when you're coming from outside, even that, it's like you don't want it to sound like that in any case.
I'm going to come to Guns and Gulabs, but before that, you know, because you mentioned, of course, we all know, you have to be living under a rock to not know that these guys have written many films, particularly the one you'll be interested in is 3. And the reason I want to bring up how writers struggle is another ballgame. I mean, today you're in a position of power, you know, people come to you and all of that, but you all started from ground zero as well, like we were discussing. I have many friends who are writers, and I know there's a different kind of struggle there, right? Once you've written the story, that's not enough. You have to convince them that this is the way it should be. Well, people come and say, it won't sell, so then it becomes something else by the end and you have to keep quiet. Credits have been an issue and non-payments. How did you all go through all of that? And of course, I'm sure today you all stand in solidarity with everybody who's writing out there.
Yeah, essentially our strength is, or at least our main building block is writing, and we write it ourselves. We haven't written for others so far, nor have others written for us, like we write it together. So our writing thing is different. Our writing is just hard work and just writing over and over. But I totally understand the writers, because we are writers at the end of it, you know. At the end of it, a lot of times when people say some of the stuff we've written and they don't take my name, for example, I know that you, like you said, you know, I'm in a much better place and all that stuff, but when they don't take my name, but say, hey, she wrote it or he wrote it, and I'm like, dude, I wrote it too. It hurts because you actually, it takes a lot to write something. So now imagine a writer who's trying to find identity and doesn't get paid anywhere close to the other, the above the line people. It is hard and it is unfair. But there has to be a way to figure this out. I mean, there are systems in place in Hollywood. There are percentages given. There are, you know, where there is a certain grammar to it. There's a structure to it. I wish we can start imbibing a lot of that.
Which is also part of the problem, right? I mean, right now there's a writer's strike going on in Hollywood, and that I can for sure I can say that before the strike happened, the writers in Hollywood were still being treated in a much better way than the writers here are. And now hopefully after the strike they'll be treated even better. So in that sense, when you nurture writers, when they're treated well, when they're paid well, where there are certain minimum guarantees and all the protections, you are going to get a lot more writers, you're going to get better writers. Eventually it's going to be good for the industry. And I mean, it goes without saying that it needs to be done.
Nothing is made without a writer, right? At the end of it, so imagine she is the hero of the whole project, but we start from what we see on the screen, which is the actor's faces first, and then you go behind, and the writer is far behind. So it is, unfortunately, the visibility is so far behind for a writer that how do you put spotlight on a writer? That's what we should all work towards.
100%. Guns and Gulabs. I spoke to the cast the other day, like I was telling you all, and I said it gave me Gangs of Wasseypur vibes. And Raj immediately said that's never a bad vibe to have. I said absolutely not. And Raj then went and described as well. I think agreeing with Gulshan, I feel like it's when Raj and DK does a Gangs of Wasseypur, then it has to be Gangs of Wasseypur on hard drugs.
Or like Gangs of Wasseypur?
On hard drugs. And like how Gulshan said, that it has to be, if Raj and DK ever had to make Gangs of Wasseypur, absolutely go OTT and make it more dramatic, then this would be it. I want to know, for me when I saw the series, it also reflected the love that you have for Bollywood films. There are scenes that I saw as references, maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I am. It felt like tributes, you know what I mean, and the way in certain, can be coincidences, but I felt your love for Hindi films is there in Guns and Gulabs. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and of course, your analysis on our analysis.
Love for cinema is there a lot. I mean, that's all we do. We live and breathe and eat cinema at the end of
And
it.
Hindi films.
Consume cinema. Yeah, and Hindi films. And then we grew up on these kind of films, right? We
Yeah.
go and see these CinemaScope films. So it's more than taking a tribute or a hat tip to a specific scenes or characters from existing films from 90s. It's really more about embracing the cinematic texture from
Kind of
the 90s.
that era. That's it. It's
From the 80s.
reminiscent of many films and any film of that era without being reminiscent of any single film in terms of the treatment. But I think the characters and the story and the style and everything is very contemporary in that sense. Yeah.
To talk a little more, I was teasing Adarsh saying that you're the nepotistic son of the gangster. So unlike your journey.
Yeah.
It does feel like that. I mean, where do you get
Of
people
course.
feeding you samosa, isn't it? Tell me why that was so important for you. Because it pretty much explains that this man is like, everything is handed over, man.
They all have quirks. All the characters have quite a few quirks, and then for this guy especially, a ladla, the guy who's not fit to be a heir to a gangster. How do you make that? And how do you make his presence felt? He had only 2 scenes or so in the first episode, but how do you make it? How do you give a little texture to it? It was his idea that he said, "Can somebody else feed me?" He goes. We had a line where he says, "Chai or samosa leke aana," when he doesn't give a fuck. Somebody is dead, come to your funeral and he's saying, "Get me chai and samosa." That was there. But then the next bit was like he comes and feeds him. That was his idea.
Yeah,
that
he's so cool. He has a guy who feeds him. He just turns his head and he takes a bite.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it doesn't get more privileged than that, does it? But of course, on that note, I feel like you all have been people who've encouraged talent in actors and got out the best in them. Among many others that who have collaborated with you, I must say Samantha Prabhu right now is because, of course, besides her heartfelt note, even in my interviews, she talks about, we all know that she's going through a very difficult time and she's fighting hard. She's an autoimmune disorder and she's really, really been there trying to make all her commitments through. She mentioned, while shooting for you as well, and how attentive and empathetic you guys have been. I want to talk about that collaboration and of course what she said about how that is why I think she feels this bond that she said with your like family.
Yeah, I mean, we found, we didn't realize that we were going so casting coup when we did The Family Man, because we had seen barely a film or 2 of hers, and everybody was, we're not sure, right, because we wanted a cold-blooded fighter, and no, there is no screen test done that way, none of that stuff. It's more of going off the confidence of the actor. She was really, really confident that
She's
she
not the typical cast for that role at
No.
all. But I think somewhere that I think, first of all, I think we tend to believe that if you take a good actor, they're capable of a lot more things than what they've already done. And that's always the idea, to put somebody in a role that they've not done, be it with a Manoj Bajpayee or be it with Samantha. So if you can see that she's capable of doing it and that's not something she's done before, then it doesn't get better than that.
It gets exciting for us, right, as filmmakers, to take someone and put him, like even Manoj, for example, hadn't done humor before, a lot of it. The Family Man, you laugh a lot, the way he's making you laugh. Raj hadn't done a lot of humor before Stree, according to him, whatever he told me that time.
Yeah.
So taking them out of there, but they can do all this easily. They might say, oh my God, it's going to be crazy, like Samantha was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to fight so well. I have to face Manoj Bajpayee, I don't know Hindi, I have to do it. And then she aced Hindi, she aced action. So, like you said, you just have to take a talented actor and put them any role, I feel they'll kill it.
Yeah. But of course, I mean, Citadel must have been difficult, right? Because you all have been there to see it through also.
Yeah. It was a toughest one for us. We wrote a nice note too, right? That toughest
Challenge for her.
role, surely for sure, because of the physical
requirements, the action.
and the condition she was in, having to get over it and do all that. And it was pretty long schedules too for us this time. Spread over 6 months we shot, 7 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But like I said, I think we're all looking forward to end it. Of course, I'll ask some quick questions and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
And so here it is. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing as a director that you would like to change about the industry, representing the directors.
Pay writers more.
treat writers with the respect they deserve. Writers are the backbone of any film that comes out on screen. They are the first step to getting that film on the screen.
Cut down on actors' salaries.
That is something
That
that
again,
we
I think in a
discussed.
capitalistic world, an actor should demand the salary that's worthy.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Worthy of
whatever,
it.
yes.
Not
Yeah.
Exorbitant
not the
is what?
bloated ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And your producers. As producers, what do you think that you could change about the industry?
Well, that's my producer answer was that.
That
Producer
was it.
answers would
Okay.
be is that.
Yeah, pay
Got it.
people on time, and which we always do, I think. Also, thanks to studios like Netflix, Amazon coming, everything's overboard, the accounting and everything. Honestly, as a producer, I don't get to finish a show unless I've paid everybody that's worked on the show. So it's in my own interest, as a producer, to pay every last person on the show so that I can close my accounts with the studio.
An actor from the Telugu film industry that both of you would absolutely love to work with and you have been hoping for a while. Actors.
DK will say Chiranjeevi.
Oh, you know his answer?
Probably not.
Probably not?
Yes, Chiranjeevi is always there in the
Ah.
list, but I mean, definitely Chiranjeevi is always there in the list. He was our favorite actor growing up also.
Well, we already got Samantha from
Sure.
Telugu.
Yeah. I mean, like, more actors.
There are
obviously.
so many more actors from the south that I would love to
I would
work
love to
with.
work
I don't
with,
want to name a name.
I love Allu Arjun. I love Nani. You know, all these guys would love to work with any of them.
Vijay Deverakonda, Mahesh Babu. There's so many actors. That is why
That's what I'm
it
saying.
would be
You start,
unfair
you
to
won't
name
stop.
one, yeah.
We'll have a lot of people to say.
You know, with something you said earlier, it reminds me of a statement.
What would I like to do if we were to make a Telugu film or whatever would be the only thing that I could think of is maybe cast more Telugu girls as Telugu girls versus non-Telugu girls, because it'd be nice to use the all the men are from Telugu, the women are mostly not.
I like that. What about you, Ricky?
If we were to make a film, and not commenting on what's already being made, then I think we would make a story that kind of runs on the story rather than on star power. Regardless of how big the star is, I think a good story at the core of it will be a great vehicle even for the star, rather than just do a star vehicle.
Was the funniest or weirdest reason an actor or team has given to say no to your script because they thought it wasn't commercial enough? Must have happened a lot to you guys.
Earlier, I don't know. I mean, the only thing funny was that they loved the story. They loved one of the actors loved our story and wanted to do the film. And then the next time we sat down, he had his own version of the story that he changed everything and
That you presented.
yeah,
to him.
and made his character way above everybody, and we were like shocked, and then we didn't say a word. We just left and never looked back. So
I'm going to think about who this person is. If there's one advice you'd like to give to actors because you worked with so many, what would that be?
advice to actors:
Yeah.
cut down on makeup time, and it's really your acting that shows more than the way the hair is sitting or the face is made up. So really trust the directors and just go with the thing. Put your phones away, so we could focus on a scene.
That's some really great advice. What about you, DK?
Well, I would say something similar to that, except what I would say is try to get into the character and try to be the character. And if you've chosen your script correctly, that will automatically make you look like the hero. Don't try to be the hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put your egos aside. Technically.
No, I'm saying just be the character. You're gonna shine. You're gonna shine like
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
You don't have to worry about anything else.
I could go on and on, but we are very, very short and pressed on time. So, but thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
sharing
much.
anecdotes. We must do a part 2 because I'm sure there are many stories that
I like the questions. We should do a part 2. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all these
Thank you.
questions.
I hope you all did.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. I've enjoyed Guns and Gulabs, like I told you. And we're looking forward to, we have another Raj and DK series. How can you not go and watch it? So thank you so much, and thank you for continuing to make content like this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.